Hello, we're starting again on the live stage. If you're interested in coming and join us, we're talking recruitment with an expert panel. So come and find a seat at this far end of the hall. So recruitment, what do employees really want? With many dealerships looking outside of the industry for staff, with retail and customer service experience to sell their cars, where and how can you find the best employees and then keep hold of them? Well, my panel aims to reveal all. Please put your hands together and welcome them to the stage. Hello. Thank you. Find a seat. Super. Okay, some introductions. On my left here, we have Jimi Matthews. He's the Business Development Director at Perfect Placement. He's worked in the industry for 10 years, delivering market insight and training for those hiring in dealerships.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Zara Ross is Chief Executive at automotive charity Ben, who I'm sure you all know extremely well. If you don't, they've got a stand there. Go and find out what they're all about because it's a fantastic charity. She helps many people work to improve their quality of life for motor trade employees. And on the end there is John Tordoff. He's the CEO of JCT600. His business is a patron of the Prince's Trust. It's placed impressively a number of times in the Sunday Times Best Companies to Work For list. So you should be able to give us some good advice on how to keep employees happy. Okay, so first question. Let's go to you, Jimmy. Okay. Should dealers be looking for staff who've got prior experience, or do you think they should start looking outside of the industry to find the right people for modern car sales?
Thank you. That ruined that plan because I thought we were going to go with John. But I think that, I suppose it depends on what you're looking for, realistically. Essentially, when you're looking to employ someone, you're looking at key personalities, key skills, key characteristics. Once you've whittled down what it is you are looking for as a business, then that's what you need to be looking for. So as to experience, as to industry expertise, industry knowledge, yeah, they can be relevant, and yes, they can be vital. But actually, when you start drilling down what it is you want as a business, what's your market looking for, what's your methodology of how you do business, but more importantly, what's your message that you want to convey to your customers, and what does your brand that you represent want to convey to its customers, then characteristics and personality are probably more key, and they can be found just as successfully outside the trade as inside the trade. And that's the only answer I have, really, which is that you can find them anywhere.
John, do you want your salesmen to have prior experience selling cars, or are you looking for simply experts in retail?
From experience, I would say well, it's a mixture, really. It's very much horses for courses, and certain jobs in certain dealerships, in certain brands require a certain kind of skill set. But more and more now we are recruiting from outside. More and more we find experienced people just bring bad habits with them. Whereas fresh people who've no previous experience, they tend to be probably better than...
Attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Sorry, we just have to wait for 2 seconds, I think. Okay.
She has our attention.
Yes, she has.
She certainly does. Most people that we find from outside of the industry, particularly those that come from a customer service background, have all the necessary skills in terms of dealing with customers. They just lack the sales process training or the service process training, or whichever role it is they're going to do. But that can all be trained into someone. And if you take someone from quite a young and inexperienced age, and you ingrain in them the culture of our business, we've had a lot of success in taking people in trainee roles. We've got people in senior management roles now that have come from us from having no motor trade experience whatsoever, and we have the training plans, etc., and the support that they need. But most important of all, they've got the right attitude.
So what skills are you looking for in these people? And what makes a good employee for a car dealership, do you think?
Attitude, work ethic, and attitude. Everything else you can train. But in our industry, we're a 7-day-a-week industry. I think we close 4 days a year. The fundamental is they've got to have a great work ethic. I mean, our business, we're open from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. 7 days a week now, either physically or online. So the people have got to be prepared to put the hours in. But it's all about attitude. And you can, what does it say, you recruit for attitude and train for skills. It's all about attitude.
Are young people still got that right work ethic, or do they think it's just going to come easy?
I think there's a lot of young people who definitely have the right attitude and the right work ethic. There's a lot of them that don't, I'll be honest with you. And you tend to find that out very, very quickly. But you need a mixture of people at all levels in the organisation. And one of the exercises that we've carried out, certainly over the last 12, 18 months, is just understanding all the different generations in the business and what makes them tick. Because what makes your average 18, 19, 20-year-old tick is a lot different to what makes your average 40, 50-year-old tick. And they all need treating in a different way. They need managing in a different way because they all respond differently. I don't think most school leavers view a job as a job for life anymore. I think they view it as a stepping stone, and you've got to be mindful of that. Whereas certainly people of my generation, you left school, some people went to university, some didn't. You started a job, and pretty much with a view that I'll probably end up retiring here. And people aren't, the modern generation, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z, whatever you want to call them these days, your millennials, I don't think they have that expectation at all.
Zara, what do you think employees are looking for from car dealerships when they're looking to join this industry? How can we attract new talent?
Well, I would agree with the two other speakers. I think probably for me, a diverse workplace where you have young and older, more experienced people working together, where you have opportunities for supporting people that are less experienced in all sorts of different ways, opportunities for training and learning and mentoring and supporting young people. Those are what they are looking for. I think it comes down to me to 2 or 3 key things. I think people want to be respected, they want to be recognised, and they want to be rewarded appropriately. The respect one is really, really important. As John said, we want to be employing people who have a real respect for customers and who can get alongside customers that are a very diverse audience of people. And sometimes that will be people with very little experience, but who just have that knack and the attitude and the capability to learn. If that respect for different ages, male and female, and a range of contributions that people can make in the workplace, that's a tangible feeling when you walk into certain places, and it feels better to be a customer going into those environments. The recognition one is not just about the salary and the bonus structure, etc. It's about having the opportunity to learn, to be mentored, to have additional skills and technical expertise gained, and to have an opportunity to progress, if at all possible. And I think it's right that people are joining, sometimes just for that experience, and they know that they will be moving on, and so they want to get the most out of their experience at work. That's not a wrong reason for joining an organisation. When it comes to reward, well, I think we have to be creative in how we reward people, and that's a cultural thing as well as the money. It's about an environment where people feel trusted, feel the opportunity to contribute is there for them, feel they can open up and talk about things outside of work as well as work-related issues.
Jimmy, is it about the money? Is it does money really talk, or do
I'll
do employees want more than that?
I'll resist the temptation to sing along to that. When we talk about, recently there was a news story about a headmaster in Norfolk who said that this was a generation snowflake, and he got royally slated for saying so. And in response to that, we talk about how do you stop a snowflake melting. And I think in response to that, it comes down to engagement. Money is important, but obviously the younger generations, the generations that are coming through, iGen, Generation Z, whatever you want to call them, money is going to be less and less important as the desire and the requirements that we've traditionally placed on earning money becomes less and less achievable. Things like mortgage, house ownership, etc., are all becoming pipe dreams for some generations. And therefore we have to start looking at how we recognise and reward a generation that's coming through for whom salary isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all. It's about engagement. It's about feeling worthwhile, like you've done a job well done. And when you talked about recognition there, I'm thinking that the next thing is social engagement in terms of being told that you've been done a good job, being recognised publicly by your employer that you've done a good job. The sort of virtual, digital pat on the back, being recognised on your social media platforms, on your website as being a good employee, having done a good job. And I think that that's just as important as salary in general.
John, what about in your dealerships? Is it your employees just interested in the money, or is you engage them in other ways?
Don't get me wrong, money plays an important part. At the end of the day, people have bills to pay. But as you know, as we've already established, you know, the different generations have different needs. I mean, I remember when I was sort of 25, everybody of my age group were all married with at least one kid and a big mortgage. Now most 25-year-olds are still living at home with their parents or renting a flat somewhere. They don't have the same money pressures that I certainly had and my friends did when I was younger. We've spent probably the last 9 years now actually asking our employees what it is they do want, what it is they like, what it is they don't like. And a lot of these questions are really easy to ask. But when you get the answer, you've got to take a good look in the mirror, and you've got to be honest with yourself and take the feedback constructively. Because the more you survey people, the more you ask quite direct questions, the more that people expect things to change. And in our business, I mean, we entered the Sunday Times Best Companies to Work for 6 years on the trot. I think the first year when we entered it, we were kind of thinking, well, we're bound to be in the top 10 because we're a great company. And we got a bit of a shock when I think we were ranked, I can't remember where we were now, 300 and something. We were like, geez, are we really that bad? And it was a real eye-opener for us. But it was something that we persevered with. We took on board the comments. We changed a lot of, again, it's back to attitude. We changed a lot of our attitudes within the business about how we look after people. Again, not just about the money. We looked at holiday entitlement. We looked at flexible working hours, all sorts of things. And slowly but surely, we crept up, and we ended up at 56th the last time we did it. Again, different generations are looking for different things. You know, a youngster, flexible working might be really important to them. The money side of it might not be that important. Somebody in their 40s, 50s with a growing family, they're kind of used to working 50 hours a week, so telling them they can have every second Tuesday off is not really a big deal for them. So I think you've got quite a flexible approach in how you deal with people, almost on a one-on-one basis, really. We've had a lot of success recently recruiting. For example, you know, I'm sure our business is no different to anybody else's business, but you know, female service advisor goes off on maternity leave, wants to come back part-time, and we've always had the view of, well, no, it's a full-time job. You know what? It's not. You can find a home for these people on a part-time basis, working hours that suit them, and they give you that flexibility back tenfold in terms of their work ethic and their enjoyment of work and their engagement at work. And there's all kind of little things like that where you can take a really kind of pragmatic view and just be flexible. And I say the rewards come back tenfold.
Why do you think it's so important to look after employees in that way? I mean, some people could easily let it slip down the list.
Because I think people have got a lot of choice these days, and I don't think our industry is a sexy proposition to work for as it was maybe 10, 20 years ago. There's a lot of competition out there, and there's a lot of other organisations out there who are deemed sexier to work for. The hours are a bit more flexible. Everything about it is just a little bit. The work-life balance is much better. So as an industry, I don't think we're really sexy. It's really sexy to get involved with anymore. So you have to be quite compelling in your offer to people to get them on board. And once people do get on board, it does get in your blood, it does get in your system, and it's hard to move away from. But I think, as I say, you just got to keep looking for different ways of attracting new talent, because the pool of people who are in the industry seems to be going down and down and down all the time. So you've got to be forever looking to top that up with people from outside the industry, and just look for new skills. I mean, we have job roles now in our business that we would never have dreamed of having 5 years ago, probably even 2 years ago. And in 2 years' time, we'll be employing people in roles that we've not even thought of today. And you've just got to keep this open-minded approach, this flexible approach, and just look after your people in just the smallest way can make a huge, biggest impact, rather than just forever writing a check out.
Can I just add on to that obviously we'll take that service advisor as an example. The knock-on effect of that is not only the positivity for that lady involved and for you as a business in gaining her back, but also the positivity for the rest of the workforce who have seen that happen and have seen that you as a business have engaged with that employee, understood what they are requiring, and therefore are probably more open in terms of when we talk about health and well-being in the workplace, to bringing to you as a business owner their own issues that they may need you to help them find a solution for. And that then creates this more engaging, open environment. So yes, the knock-on effect for that one individual is brilliant, but the knock-on effect to the employee staff in general is immense by being open and being able to afford that flexibility in the workplace.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think a really honest way forward is so important for an employer to take the view that you've taken and to open the door on some things that you wouldn't have thought of before. But obviously, you guys also have family commitments. You've got family dependents. It's not just the women that need the flexibility at work. And so, the work-life balance won't happen unless we actually create it to happen. And that's quite challenging for some of how our industry has been structured. But that is what the next generation is looking for. I have got a millennial woman, a daughter, and that's what she's looking for. And her husband-to-be is also looking for that. So it is about that open-mindedness and respect for how things are changing. It isn't easy, but I think we have to put ourselves in the place of thinking about it and preparing differently for the workforce of the future.
Jimmy, when it comes to being the boss, do you think they should be part of the team, or do you think they should be a little bit hands-off? It's often quite difficult to know where to sit in an organisation when you're in charge.
Well, firstly, I'm not in charge, but I suppose talking to managers as to how they are involved in their business, it all depends on the organisation, because the way the organisation is structured is imperative to the success of the individual business. As a business grows, then people's roles and their ability to affect change changes as well. The higher someone gets up the chain, it's quite right that certain parts of their roles they have to delegate, and they have to allow and trust and verify that the staff that are coming up alongside are engaged with and are involved in. I think you can be as hands-on as you like, but you still have to trust that the people you've employed in the first place are going to do the job that you've employed them to do, and that you as a manager, would take Zara's point from earlier, will always be there for them if they require help, assistance, a shoulder around the arm, whatever it might be. But to engage with them and to be a manager, the most successful that we've seen in any industry have been those that have been able to hire the right staff and trust that they're able to do the job that you require them to do, and to allow them to get on with it.
John, are you hands-on in your business on the showroom floor?
It's been said. Yeah, I am. I'm very hands-on. But I have a trusted team of people that work for me, and probably more and more every day, I let those guys take the lead, and they have the initiative to do. They know the difference between right and wrong. They know the difference between what I'm looking for and what I'm not. And you do have to allow them to stretch their wings, to come up with new things. I mean, they come up with things that I've never even thought of before. And if it was always a case of just running it by me, then we wouldn't have had the success and the growth that we've had over the last few years. So it's very much a team effort. We've got an operations board, we've got a team of brand directors, heads of business, and then we have a traditional dealership management structure working under them. And you have to give people, you have to allow people to use their initiative. There's a famous quote from Steve Jobs that says, "We hire great people to tell us what to do, not for us to then tell them what to do." And I think that's, and again, going back to the millennial situation, these people, they have ideas, they have opinions, and they have a voice. And I think that they're the generation that get very frustrated very quickly if they're not allowed to air that voice. And you see it on social media every day, don't you? They want to be heard, and if you try and quell that and push it down and tell them they're not interested, then they'll very, very quickly move on. Whereas people of my generation, and probably a little bit younger, they're kind of used to the fact that, well, boss makes all the decisions and I just come to work and do a job. So the difference in generations is amazing.
And just finally, to each of you, have you got a killer question that dealers should ask in an interview?
I would suggest the first question you should ask in an interview is, why are you here today? Because if you get someone who's then goes into this very long soliloquy about why they're interested in working for your company, what research they've done on what you do, etc., then you've got someone who's engaged in your business, who's done some research on your business, and has found a genuine interest in working for you. If you just say, well, I'm here because I saw a job advert and I thought I'd apply, or the agency gave me a date to come down, you're on hiding to nothing in terms of the interview. So that would be my first killer question, if it were.
Thank you. Zara?
There are so many obvious first questions, but an important one is, what do you see as the purpose of being here in this role? And a final question to people is, when you put yourself up against the job description, what are the areas that you're going to need development in? And I think those two questions say a little bit about people's self-awareness, and they're, for me, quite important ones.
Thank you. John, have you got one that always works?
To be honest with you, I don't think I do, to be honest. But one of the things that I have experienced over the years, you see so many people who are interviewing, and if there's a 1 hour interview, they talk for 55 minutes and the candidate gets to talk for 5. And at the end of the hour, you still don't know anything about them. And I think you've got to find the questions that opens up the candidate. And if you speak more than 5, as the interviewer, if you're speaking more than 5 or 10 minutes, then you're speaking too much. It's got to be all about the candidate and as these guys have said, you need to find the questions to get them to open up, find out what motivates them, find out about their attitude to life, about their attitude to work, what the hobbies and interests are. Is this job going to be compatible with that, etc., etc. It's all about attitude. There's lots of people in this room here can provide all the necessary training that we need. It's just you just find people with the right attitude all day long.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. Next up on the live stage is a panel with Rebecca about end of the salesman. How can customer service help sell more cars? But before that, at 2:30, we'll be holding a minute's silence. So just be ready for that at 2:30. Please put your hands together for my panellists.